I'm well. How are you, sir?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
Good.
All right, this is WNTBD Today, and we are live. We are live. We are live, Tracy.
Yes. All right. Thank you. And greetings and welcome back, everyone, to What Needs to Be Done Today, also known as WNTBD Today Network. This podcast is sponsored by the MAAT American Tribal Nation. Peace and love to our wonderful podcast team, all of you who've joined us today, all those who watch this video later. All this month, we're continuing our celebration of our patriarchs and also in honor of Father's Day with the podcast, The Patriarch Speaks. Today's speaker is one of our amazing tribal members and patriarchs. We have Professor and Judge Ron Wilson. Even at such a young age, he has a very long and impressive, extensive career in numerous sectors. He is also a member of the MAAT American Tribal Council of Elders. He's our Director of Education and our Director of Membership. Judge Wilson, the floor is yours.
Thank you for that very kind introduction, Tracy. It is definitely an honor and a privilege to be with you here this morning, and I want to thank you for the kind invitation. Um, the topic of my discussion this morning, or I should say this afternoon, is going to be on the value of mentoring. I'll give you some background on me and some of my experience in the field of mentoring, as well as answer any questions that you may have regarding my experience or my opinion as it relates to mentoring. It is not research based in the sense that I will not be citing or referencing any authorities in the area. And my opinion, of course, is my opinion and not necessarily the opinion of the MAAT, American Aboriginal Tribal Nation. So first of all, let me give you a little bit of background on myself. Um, my name is Ron Wilson. I am originally from Massachusetts, Springfield, Massachusetts, to be specific, and I currently reside in Tucson, Arizona. I moved to Tucson, Arizona in 1999 to take a position uh, at the Pima County Attorney's Office. I One of the reasons why mentoring is so important to me is because I grew up in the foster care system. I spent 16 years in foster care, and during that time, I've had over 400 brothers and sisters at a variety of stages during that 16 years from a number of different backgrounds in terms of race, ethnicity, gender identity, etc. And I could tell you story after story about what that experience was like in the different eras from the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, and how the demographic of foster children changed so significantly from the 70s until the 90s. But one of the things that was really important to me during that time period, one of the things that helped keep me grounded was having responsible adult men in my life who helped guide me and modeled the type of behavior that they felt was value driven. And when I talk about values, I'm talking about integrity, honesty, respect, those types of values. values that are grounded in who we are, not just as creations of a divine being or God, but who we are as African peoples, the custodians and the parents of this planet, the fathers and mothers of nations and civilizations. And so I was very fortunate throughout my entire life, um, through foster care, to have a number of patriarchs or men who poured into me their wisdom. And that included not only hoping that and having faith in me and hoping that I would not repeat the same mistakes that they made, but also giving me an opportunity to fall forward and to fail without the consequences ending my life, ending my freedom, or ending some of the rights that we hold so dear in the United States. Unfortunately, we live in a society where not everybody has the protections that I was afforded. And as a direct result of them making mistakes, they find themselves either arrested, on drugs, homeless, incarcerated, or even dead because they made a mistake and that mistake had tragic consequences. I did not experience that. I had everyone from drug dealers and gangbangers to law enforcement officers who made it a point to protect me and to guide me in a way that put me in the position that I am right now. And so, as Tracy mentioned, Judge Wilson, I was a municipal court judge for close to 12 years. I was first appointed at the age of 33 as the chief presiding judge of that municipal court. And I am honored to say that appointment was historical for a couple of reasons. One, I was the first Black chief presiding judge in the history of the state of Arizona, which is something that I'm proud of, but also something that is troubling. This happened in 2002, and it says a lot about the state of our country and the state of Arizona, where the first Black chief presiding judge was not seated until 2002. Um, at that time, I was also the youngest Black chief presiding judge in the entire country. And that's something that I'm also extremely proud of. There are judges now who are younger than me, but at the time I was the youngest chief. I also served as the national chair of the American Bar Association's Judicial Division Specialty Courts Committee, where I created some of the first problem-solving courts in the country, the first veterans courts, domestic violence courts, drug courts, homeless courts in the nation that were fully funded through the court's budget and the budget of the municipality in which I was employed. We received no funding from the state and we received no funding from the federal government. We were completely self-sustaining. In those courts, when we talk about mentoring, one of the reasons why I established those courts and one of the reasons why those courts were so important was because we leveraged mentoring relationships and the concept of restorative justice to try to heal not just the victims, but also the offenders. We know from research that hurting people hurt others. And oftentimes, in many of these cases, from substance abuse, where it's self-medication, to even domestic violence, where it's trauma and anger management related issues, that not only does the victim need help, but the perpetrator also needs help. And the last place they're going to get that help is in jail or in a line waiting to pay their fines. And so what I did was established a number of different alternatives to incarceration so that people could get counseling, probation, um, go to school, even go to church. There was a time there were a couple of people, and I almost got in trouble for this one. There were a couple of situations where people owed so much money, and I knew they couldn't afford to pay the money. but they were God-fearing people. And so I would give them credit toward their fine for going to church. And all they would have to do is every week bring in a letter from their pastor saying that they spent a couple hours in church and that they volunteered at the church or maybe cleaned up at the church. And I would pay them $25 an hour. Now that money was not coming out of my budget. It was money that they owed the court, and I was setting it aside, or I was suspending that balance in order to help them pay off that outstanding fine. It would also, in many cases, assist them in getting their license back, because in Arizona, unlike other major cities, it's really difficult to find employment if you don't have transportation. And the busing system in Arizona is not the greatest, but we do have it, and we do not have a rail system. So it's not like people could use go take a trolley or a subway to get to work. So having transportation was really important. So taking away someone's right to drive is really like a death sentence. Um, and not only were they impacted, but their entire family would be impacted. Sometimes 4 generations would be impacted because that vehicle was attached to the driver, and if the driver didn't have a driver's license, oftentimes the insurance for that vehicle would be suspended and the registration for that vehicle would be suspended.